Welcome to Breast Intentions, the podcast where we take off the bra of expectations and dive into honest, empowering conversations. We're your hosts, Nadine and Cynthia, two Canadian girls who swapped snow boots for flip-flops in the Cayman Islands. This is your space to feel seen, supported, and a little less alone. So grab a cup of coffee or a glass of champagne and get ready for your weekly handful of truth, wellness, and empowerment. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Breast Intentions. Today, we're flipping the script. I'm turning the mic on my co-host, the one and only Nadine Dumas. You hear her voice every week, but today we're diving into her story, her superpowers, and the magic she brings to midlife wellness. Nadine's a functional nutrition coach who's helped thousands of women in midlife, perimenopause, and menopause stop the diet roller coaster and finally feel amazing in their skin. This one's honest, eye-opening, and full of those Me Too moments. You don't want to miss it. We're going to be talking about nutrition. You have a background in nutrition, so let's start with you telling us a little bit about that.
Sure. I kind of going back to, I guess, the initial podcast that we did with each other, but just more focused on the nutrition side. I started working in nutrition over 17 years ago. And I fell into it just out of a love for fitness and really wanting to understand how to change my body. I didn't even start learning anything about nutrition until I was like 26, I think.
Okay.
And at the time, like there wasn't even anything like MyFitnessPal or anything like that. I actually used to do spreadsheets.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was learning about macros at the time.
Yeah.
And it originally started because I was in the fitness industry. And
Right.
in order to compete as a fitness competitor, you had to change your body.
Right.
And how do you do that? Through exercise and through nutrition. And probably one of the things, though, is that like I didn't learn the proper way.
I was going to say, like, is there would be a healthy way to do that and perhaps a not healthy way to do that and still get the same or similar results?
I think with competing, there's always going to be a bit of an extreme side of it.
Right.
And probably not the healthiest side of it. But I will say over the years of working in nutrition, it's not any different than a woman doing extreme dieting.
Right.
Yeah. And doing it year and year or, month and month after month, continuing to do it. So, started with that and then, got into the competing. I did quite well with it. And it was also at the time that Facebook became quite popular. So my photos were out there and people from like back home, because I was living here at the time, were asking how, I changed my body and all this kind of stuff. And I started helping people for free.
Right.
And then I realized, I can probably do this as a job. And so then quit my job as an accountant and moved into nutrition and started with the basics of just nutrition courses. And then as time went on, I knew that I needed to learn more and more. And at the time I was working with women, a little bit with men as well. And I just felt like there were so many more questions that I needed to ask people. Like I was perfectly fine. And I did very, very well with getting people to lose the weight that they needed to lose, creating the programs that they needed to follow. And then I just started to see certain things show up. And so women would either say, I've like really fallen off, and we would talk a little bit about what had happened, and you would see that it was emotional. And I'm like, I need to learn more about this. So I enrolled at the Institute for Psychology of Eating. It was out of Colorado, and did their program so that I could understand why people view food the way that they do, why they view their bodies the way that they do. And it just enabled me to ask people, my clients, more questions. So a little bit of the why, or a little bit of their background, and kind of put two and two together as to, this is why you view food the way that you do, or this is why you have been on so many different diets. And then as time went on, I started implementing that into my programs. And then I went into the Institute for Functional Medicine and learned how to be a coach through there. So I can be the middleman between a functional medicine doctor and the patient. So if you're seeing a functional medicine doctor and they say, we need you to carry out this type of diet because of your cholesterol, I would be the person that would help them with that program. And then more recently, I moved into DNA testing and helping people understand who they are at a core. And then recently as well, I moved into menopause coaching and just really understanding what women need in order to support them through midlife and all of the transitions moving forward. So it wasn't like it was like a big difference in nutrition, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but really just putting it all together and really understanding a person at their core. And I think one of the biggest things that I can say for people is a lot of people just really need someone to listen to their story and help them understand the reason why they believe the way that they do when it comes to diet culture, when it comes to who they are, what their beliefs are in food and how they view themselves. So a very long-winded story about the nutrition side of what I do. I'm very passionate about it. But it's been, 17 years of watching the industry change as well and watching the industry grow. So,
right. What are some of the biggest nutritional mistakes you see women making in midlife?
Undereating.
Yeah.
And over-exercising.
Right.
And it still happens.
Not just in midlife, like
no, I was just going to say. Yeah. But the more that they continue to do it, the worse it's going to get. And it's, I think because women's bodies change so much during midlife and during that transition, you resist even more. And you resort to different, more extreme ways.
Right.
So you might go back to the undereating that you used to do many years ago, but now it's not working. And now you push even more.
Right.
And then you might go to the over exercising like you used to do a long time ago when it worked. And now it's not working.
Right.
So you do it even more.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I see probably the most with people. And the other thing too is when I get a new client, the majority of women that think that it's actually an overeating issue that they have, but they actually have an undereating issue.
I think we're probably conditioned to feel that way as women, no matter what. Like I'm just eating too much and I'm not moving my body enough. I mean, that's the narrative out there, is just eat less and move more. Yeah. Even though it's not what we need.
It's not. And a lot of the times I'll even ask a woman when we initially start working together, I'm like, I just want you to record 3 days of your food, whether it's in an app or writing it down. And then I want to take a look at it. And every single time, it's not like a woman is eating 3,000 calories. No. Ever. I never, ever see that. I usually see
half of that.
900. 1,000, 1,100. Maybe every once in a while, they're going to have a day that's 2,500 or something like that. But that's because they were under eating for so long that their body needed to course correct. And then that's what it is that they view, that they're an overeater or they're a binge eater.
Right.
But it stemmed from too many days of under eating.
How do our nutritional needs change during perimenopause and menopause?
I would say a big part of it is we really do need to focus on protein. And I think the $1 million
Why
question,
is that?
To sustain muscle.
Okay.
Which is going to be very important. But the $1 million question, I think, for a lot of people is, but what does a lot of protein actually mean?
True.
And I had a conversation with a doctor about this, and he helps women through menopause. And he said, I tell women that they need to eat a lot of protein. And I said, but
what is a lot?
What does that mean? You actually need to really show a person what that means. So again, just looking at what a person might be eating over 3 days, if I know that they're eating so we'll kind of go a little bit to macros. If I know that they're eating, 50 grams of protein, I do want them to go up. But I think there's like this general consensus online that people think that they need to eat X amount of grams of protein, like per body weight.
Yeah,
Or
I
like
have seen
per
stuff like that.
desired body weight. But if I'm working with a woman, let's say that's 150 pounds, and she right now is only eating 50 grams of protein, you're not going to want to eat 3 times that amount of protein. And it's also not really necessary.
Right.
And it becomes a lot of food for a person.
Yeah, for sure.
So I work with where a person currently is, and then we work on where are there gaps in the day that we can incorporate a little bit more protein.
Yeah.
What are the types of protein that we can start incorporating? So can we incorporate a little bit more protein at breakfast, where it might be a bit more carb heavy, or it might just be fruit or something like that. So let's look at a way to incorporate protein powder or something like that, or even incorporating different snacks that are a little bit more protein heavy. But when it comes to what actually is enough protein, I very much come from a standpoint of, I don't use there's
no number we can all strive to hit.
I would really, really like, probably just with the women that I see, I for sure want a woman over 100 grams.
For the day. That's their number for the end of the day.
Yeah. I usually find that that's a bit of a sweet spot for a person. If they're a bit, if they're vegan, it can also be a little bit tough to hit the 100.
Right.
But we just work on it. Like we slowly build a person up. And again, kind of going back to those calories as well, is if a person comes to me and they're only eating 900 calories and we have to bring protein up and we have to bring those calories up, I'm not going to do it immediately. We're going to work very slowly to bring that up, or it's like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
And a person becomes really resistant to it. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
So, but it's, I mean, we all know this, we need more protein, and that's what everybody keeps saying, protein, protein, protein. But it's not just protein. Like there is other things that we also need to have in our diet. We need to focus on. I feel like fiber is one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And fiber can come in many different sources as well. It can come through our vegetables. It can come through more of our starchier carbs. If you really even needed to as well, it can just come from a supplement like Metamucil.
I was going to say like Metamucil.
Yeah. Psyllium husk.
Right.
I do grain-free, and a lot of grain-free products. So I do grain-free, and a lot of products out there actually have psyllium husk in it as the fiber component for grain-free.
Okay.
So psyllium husk is what you'll also find in, I believe you'll find it in Metamucil as well.
I think so too. It sounds like a familiar term that I've heard.
It's also something that I recommend to people if their cholesterol is high, if their LDL is high, is to make sure that you're taking a fiber supplement so that it can grab some of those fats and help export it out of your system. So fiber is also very important.
Yeah. I do like a greens
powder
in the morning before I have my coffee.
Oh, nice.
And it's amazing.
Yeah. It works like a charm.
It works like a charm. Yeah, no, I find it's amazing. Yeah. I used to do apple cider vinegar, a shot of that in the morning before anything. And that was okay too. But now I've switched to the greens, and I think I like this better.
It does work. And I do find that it's a really good way to get other nutrients into a person's body.
Right.
From a grams perspective with fiber, I really love to see a person over 25.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, you can go on to MyFitnessPal, or you can just go on.
That's what online. I usually do. I'll log it in. Like I don't log every day. That's not great for me as far as my history with diet culture. So I don't track every single day, but once in a while I'm like,
just to see,
let's see where I'm at. Yeah. And so I'll log into MyFitnessPal, and I'll do it for maybe a week, maybe not even. And sometimes I'm quite off. I'm like, okay.
Oh, like really under?
Yeah. Well, in a few different categories, like I might be under fiber, I might be under protein. And so that helps me go, I really need to increase both of these things. Because you kind of get out of, I don't know if it's maybe not focusing on it And I think I'm getting all those things.
Right.
But that helps me then refocus again.
Yeah.
And I do things like flax seeds and chia seeds and stuff like that to help with both protein and fiber.
And the fiber.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even a pear
Oh,
or
yeah.
an apple, that will help with fiber.
Right.
Really even just going online and just looking at, like, literally Google foods that are high in fiber and choose one and incorporate it.
And one that you
each day.
like, don't feel like
Exactly.
you have to force yourself to eat something just because you need to get this more fiber. That's not sustainable.
Yeah. And increase your water as well,
Yeah.
or that fiber will backfire on you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Create a little hockey puck in the stomach.
Yeah.
And then you're in trouble.
You're in trouble. Yeah.
Point. Yeah.
All right. So we were talking a little bit about how women feel like they're overeating, but they are actually undernourished. Can you talk a little bit about this paradox?
It's one of the things that I find, like, going back to just women under eating and thinking that is the way to lose weight and over exercising. But when I do take a look at the way that a person eats, so I'll usually, again, have them write it down. A lot of the times the reason why they view that they overeat is because they're concentrating on, like, one particular time in the day. And it usually results from a person not eating enough earlier in the day.
Yeah.
So I always say to people, you've listed your food and your food looks like this, like an upside down triangle.
Right.
For those who can't see us. An upside down triangle. So the morning starts off very, very small because you're trying to be really good and you're trying to lose weight. And then maybe you're going to have a little salad for lunch. And now you're getting to the afternoon and now you're really tired because your body hasn't had enough food.
Yeah.
And maybe you have a bit of adrenal fatigue going on there as well. And so then you start to slip in a little bit of carby stuff. And then all of a sudden the floodgates open come dinner and you are so hungry. And then you eat a really big dinner and then it continues on into nighttime.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you have viewed yourself as an overeater or a binge eater when you probably, as a whole, you probably haven't.
Yeah.
You've just ate in a way that
You haven't been satiated. You haven't been satisfied
exactly
throughout the day. And then at night, you're just like, but I need more, but I need more.
Yeah.
Well, subconsciously, your body might be thinking.
Yeah. And so we want to flip that triangle upside down. And I always say to people, I was just saying this to someone the other day where, I was saying it to my kid, actually. Yeah. Because we were talking about, like, nighttime eating. And I said, well, think about it this way. When does your body burn the most energy? When do you need the most energy? And he said, during the day.
Yeah.
And I said, exactly. And so when does your body not need a lot of energy? And he said, well, at nighttime when you're going to bed. And I said, exactly. So if you're eating the opposite, where you're not eating during the day when your body needs a lot of energy, and then you're eating at night when your body doesn't need a lot of energy. Did I get that wrong?
Yeah, I think you said it right.
Okay.
I was following.
Okay, good.
I think.
Your body's going to store it.
Yeah.
And then you're not going to go into a good enough sleep.
Yeah.
And so I work really hard on trying to change the way that a person eats, because it's really not that a person is under eating.
Yeah. I find too that if I do
overeating,
if I do eat protein during the day, that helps too, to avoid the snacking, to avoid the being hungry in the evening and feeling like I need, and like I can feel when I'm like, no, I need more. I need that didn't cut it.
Yeah.
And it's usually because I haven't had enough protein.
Well, and cutting it is actually the right way of looking at it too, because if you were to just have fruit in the morning, fruit only has like a 15-minute shelf life in your tummy.
Right.
So it's going in and it's coming out like quite fast. It's being processed through your system quite fast. But if you can cut it a little bit with some protein or some fats, it at least slows down the process of it flying through your system.
Right. So like if it's just fruit, I just wake up, I have my fruit, my coffee, I'm going to be hungry again in an hour.
100%.
Yeah. Whereas if I have eggs and fruit or cheese and fruit and
or protein powder or throwing some nuts on the side, or throwing some avocado in a smoothie or something like that.
That helps to go at least 2 or 3 hours.
Yes.
What role does blood sugar balance play in managing menopausal symptoms?
So a lot. One of the things that we do want to look at is that it can worsen hot flashes.
Okay.
It can also increase mood.
Yeah.
Worsen mood, I should say. Anxiety. So if you're not eating consistently throughout the day, you're having these ups, and then you're having these highs. Yeah. And then you're having these lows as well. And then you're trying to feed into it. And it's making the blood sugar like all over the place. Right. So then your body doesn't really know if it's coming or going at that time. Now it's going to impact your mood. You see it with kids all the time too.
Yeah, true. When they're hangry.
Yes. Yeah. And adults as well.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah. Right. And so, really just looking at trying to manage your food across the board does have a trickle down effect into the hot flashes, has a trickle down effect into the mood. So yes, when we are going through midlife and we're going through all of those transitions, we know that it is affecting our mood, but we know that there's ways that we can at least manage part of that mood so that it's not worse than what it actually needs to be.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. And the anxiety as well. So, if I'm working with someone that is really struggling with anxiety, I'm only going to work with them from a food perspective. And anxiety is going to come from even over drinking coffee and then not eating enough food because they have it built into their mind that they want to intermittent fast, or they don't want to eat a lot because they want to lose weight. Yeah. But now all of a sudden they're contributing to other areas that are just, it just becomes a recipe for disaster. Yeah, right. For people.
Speaking of intermittent fasting, what is your take on an intermittent fasting in midlife? Is it helpful, harmful?
I have a lot of opinions.
Yeah.
On this
I would like to, I want to hear all about it. Because you hear it, it's great. Mm-hmm. Everybody should be doing it, but should we be doing this in midlife?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll start with a couple of my thoughts on this. Intermittent fasting. So when I do all of my DNA reports, we do talk about detoxing, the detoxification strategies that that person needs to help assist their body. And one of the areas is fasting. And immediately, as soon as I say it, they're like, oh, well, I used to do intermittent fasting. I'm like, that's not what I mean. Yeah. So the fasting for me is, I want you to go to bed with no food in your stomach.
Right. So stop eating by 8:00.
Stop even eating even earlier. Yeah. So I want a person, when you go to bed, you should have ate 3 to 4 hours prior.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
So it gives your body enough time to process all of that food. Because what ends up happening is when you go to sleep at night and there's food in your stomach, it's kind of like a runway with airplanes. Only one airplane can go first. Right. So if you are going to bed with food in your stomach, your body has to digest and metabolize that food first before you can get into a deep sleep. And with the deep sleep is where the detoxification happens, where the clearing of the brain and stuff. So what we want to do is we want that to not be there, so then you can get into a deeper sleep, so you can recover, your body can regenerate, and you can get into that deeper sleep. We all know, even from the Ring and the Whoop and stuff like that, that if you have dinner or food late at night and then go to bed, your heart rate's always going to be higher because your body has to work so hard to process that food. So the earlier that we can eat, the better it's going to be for your sleep and for your body. So from a fasting perspective, I want a person to actually stop eating dinner quite early. And then in the morning when you wake up, so let's say you stop eating dinner at 6, well, a 12-hour fast is until 6:00 the next morning. Right. Or a 14-hour fast is until 8:00 the next morning. Right. There's also this really good book, and I cannot remember the name. If I can remember the name, we'll put it in the show notes. Okay. But she talks about circadian fasting. And circadian fasting is you start eating when the sun comes up and you stop eating when the sun goes down. Oh, okay. Because when the sun is up is when your body is burning or using the most energy. Yep. So why not feed it at a time when your body is using the most energy? Where a lot of people will wait until 1:00 in the afternoon to start eating, but you've missed such a great window of use, for all of that food. So that's one of my thought patterns on this. The other thing too is just from working with women so much, and especially women who have children especially daughters, is I don't ever want a daughter to see that mom doesn't eat breakfast because of she's trying to lose weight or anything like that. I'm not a fan of it. And
it's not a great model.
No. And especially, you think about a weekend on a Sunday morning. Oh, so mom is going to sit at the table with us and we're going to...
If that.
Yeah. And she's not going to eat because of whatever it is.
Whatever she's doing. Yeah.
So that's another big part of it for me that's why I'm just not really a huge proponent of intermittent fasting. And I know like when Bella was on, she talked about it as well. And she came from more of like the scientific side where it's like research has shown that from intermittent fasting, it was all done on men.
Yeah, right.
Right. Because of the hormones. And it can really disrupt a woman's hormones.
Yeah.
But there's just other areas that I also like to look into it for people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my
I like
take on it.
I've done it. Because, it's out there and you're told it's supposed to be helpful. It's supposed to, whatever. So I've done it. And for most of the time, it was like, kept looking at the clock. Is it time to eat yet? Is it time to eat yet? And I was, starving. I was starving by the time it was noon or whatever time I was then able to eat my first meal. And I may have noticed some benefits, but I didn't feel like the benefits were worth the hunger and the torture.
And I think the other thing too that I see show up a lot with women is what their thoughts are when hunger shows up. Like, what does it mean when I have a hungry tummy?
Yeah.
And it's always viewed negatively.
Bad. Right.
Always.
Right.
And I'm like, this is your opportunity for you to like throw something in there so that the body can use it.
It's literally just our body telling us it needs something.
Yes.
And it's not a negative thing, but because, we're conditioned like, no, you have to eat less to lose weight and you shouldn't be hungry.
Yeah.
Hunger is bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
How can we combat cravings that often show up around this stage of life?
Oh, boy.
Can we? For me, it's just, that consistent eating and making sure I have enough protein, I think.
I think as well, looking into other areas. So why are cravings actually showing up?
Right.
So are cravings showing up because you're exhausted?
Right.
Are cravings showing up because you didn't eat anything for breakfast and something really small for lunch? But
is there, should we also give in to these cravings sometimes? Like maybe if I'm craving, let's go for an ice cream cone. Let's just go for an ice cream cone.
Yeah.
And not fighting it like many of us have.
Yeah.
And then we go off the deep end and eat the whole tub of ice cream.
And it's because you've been thinking about it and thinking about it and obsessing about it.
Right.
And that's a lot of the work that I do around that as well is really understanding like the reasons for why.
Right.
So is it because you're happy and you're enjoying the time with your kids and sure, I'm going to have an ice cream cone.
Yeah.
We do also have to work around the after effects of that as well, where like the guilt sets in or maybe the massive stomach ache where it's like, actually you shouldn't be eating dairy.
Yeah.
And that's maybe another thing that we need to look into.
Right.
But I think the biggest thing for me is that I don't want a person to ever view food as good or bad.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you can view
that's where it all
the time
comes from.
Yeah. Macros I really like using just because food just has like more of a number attached to it. And I always tell people, I'm like, I'm helping you build what your meal plan should be looking like. I have clients where they can't eat salmon because it just doesn't really work for them. But salmon would be viewed as healthy. It just doesn't work for them.
Right.
Or I have other clients where, the broccoli and the cauliflower and everything like that just doesn't work for their tummies. Yogurt. Some people, they can't have it. So I'm helping them build what it is that actually works for them. If they can have pizza with their family once a week and they're feeling good about it, their body isn't responding negatively about it, they're achieving their goal, let's say if it's a weight loss goal, and by all means have it.
Yeah.
So it's really taking away the good and the bad.
Yeah. You teach about the pillars of pause. Can you walk us through what they are and why they matter so much in midlife?
So the pillars are sleep, stress, hormones, nutrition, and exercise. And they all need to be there. And they all have to be, I don't want to say they all have to be in sync,
Right.
but they all need to be looked at. So we can't just look at food.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll be working with people and they're like, yeah, but my food. Yeah, but my food.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but your sleep sucks.
Yeah.
And so we kind of need to look at your sleep, because if your sleep isn't that good, yeah, you're having a low at 3 p.m. every single day, and it keeps on pulling you towards all of the higher sugar, chocolate, excess caffeine, or something like that. So they all have to be they all work hand in hand.
Right.
Probably the toughest one is going to be hormones.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen those Instagram videos where the people are dancing? I think they were newscasters and they were dancing, and it was like, I think it was like nutrition and exercise. And it was these two people and they could dance in sync together.
Oh, okay.
And then all of a sudden there was this guy in the background snapping his fingers.
Way out of sync.
Completely. And he was the hormones.
Right.
So it is definitely one of the tougher ones.
Right.
But we do have to look at all of those pillars.
Yeah.
Stress is going to be a very important one. It's going to dip into your sleep. It's going to dip into how you eat. It's going to dip into how you exercise. So they all have to go hand in hand.
Yeah, they're all related. They're all connected.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. And I think as well, by making sure that you're getting the proper people in your corner to help with that, or the proper modalities to help with that as well. Like the Oura Ring is really great, or the Whoop is really great. And I guess an Apple Watch is very similar as well, to like monitor sleep, but it also can help you monitor your exercise.
Right.
If you're like closing your rings or closing the rings.
I don't know. I don't have one.
Yeah, I guess
I want one.
I don't have one either, but I think you can like close your
Okay.
rings with exercise.
Yeah.
Maybe it is recording your food every once in a while. So really, we want to look at everything as a whole, and never just concentrating on one specific thing. Yeah.
But even still, you could have like amazing nutrition, exercises on point, you figured out your hormones, but you're sleeping like crap. And that could throw everything off.
It can. Yeah. And I also think that when that happens to someone, because we have been conditioned with, around midlife, a lot of it is around like weight struggles and just not feeling very confident in your body. And as females, I find that we concentrate a lot on just the exercise and just the food. And we don't actually realize how important sleep is.
Yeah.
With regards to those. So it's also just like re-educating a person too.
I think so too. And I think a lot of people are like, well, if you get your nutrition and your exercising, your sleep will come.
Yeah.
And sometimes it still doesn't. Like you and I think have talked about how our sleep is pretty good. But what about the people who aren't? They think they're doing everything they can be doing, but their sleep is still not great.
I did go through a moment though. It was a long moment of anxiety right before bed.
Yeah.
And, you lay there and all you think about is the conversations that you had with someone, 6 months ago, and you wish you would have said this.
Right.
And then your brain's going over here and over here. And so it did definitely impact me. And that was where I had to go to a doctor, go to a naturopath, and look at other ways, because it was actually my hormones that were off. And then when my hormones became adjusted, that my sleep started to adjust back. And then you feel so much better the next day. And then your exercise is more on point and your nutrition is more on point. So,
yeah. But it could be the nutrition that is affecting the sleep.
Yes, it could be from eating too late. It could be from not eating enough during the day. It can be,
what
alcohol
you're eating. Alcohol too.
Is
Yeah.
another one too.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you help women break free from the diet culture mindset that's often carried into midlife?
I hope to help them before that, so that it isn't carried over.
Right.
But it's debunking.
Yeah.
And a lot of re-educating. And also, I do find that there's a lot of reflection on, well, I used to do this, or I used to look like this, and great, that's fine, but it's probably not going to work the same now. And our professor in the menopause program that I had taken, she was very honest. And she was like, you are going to have to work a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to be a little bit more diligent with your sleep. And you're probably going to have to eat dinner just a little bit early to help with the sleep and to help with like the goals that you're wanting to achieve. Again, kind of going back to weight loss tending to be one of the bigger goals that a lot of people have during that time is just being a little bit more diligent, debunking, let's say, the undereating or the less calories, also the over exercising as well, because our hormones are doing something funky at this time. By over exercising, we're just dipping into affecting them even more.
Right.
We are putting too much stress on our bodies. Typically, a woman in midlife probably is going through a bit more stresses. Maybe their kids are at a teenage age and that becomes quite tough. Maybe there's some transitions with their career. So that can be a little bit tougher as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you share a client transformation or personal story that highlights how powerful nutrition can be during midlife, during this stage of life?
I don't share a lot of like my stories anymore about my clients. In the past, I used to, but now everything, I don't really share a lot of those. But I did have a particular client. So she was mid to late 40s and ended up going down the road of like going into menopause, didn't know what was going on with her, and just basically like curled up in a ball, feeling absolutely horrible. And the world is coming to an end, that kind of feeling. Weight struggles, it's affecting confidence, it's affecting work. And we've worked together for 9 months already. And she was doing HRT. So she started HRT when she started with me. And I'm like, that is in the hands of your doctor. But now we need to look at all of the ways that you have been trying to diet and it's not working, and have been trying to exercise and it's not working. And now all of that has completely fallen off because you don't have any energy. You feel horrible about yourself. You feel slow and sluggish. And kind of going back to the basics. The other thing that I forgot to mention that does tend to show up with women is like the histamine issues.
Yeah, right.
So she was also having a lot of trouble around drinking alcohol. And I don't really, when I'm working with my clients, I don't get to a point where I'm like, you're not allowed to touch alcohol ever again or anything like that. I'm like, if that is your thing, we're going to slowly work towards that, but we're also going to find what actually works for you.
Yeah.
And so we were actually able to find what alcohol works for her.
Right.
Because she still likes to enjoy going out for dinner and being with her friends or her husband and having a couple of drinks. You also don't want to get a person to feel so deprived that it's actually not realistic.
Yeah.
And so we worked around that, and then we started to work around the food where she didn't realize that she actually has a gluten issue.
Oh.
Yeah. And so we ended up finding that out, and we took that away. And sorry, I don't want to say we took it away, but she removed
it was eliminated.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, every once in a while she'll still have like a gluten-free pizza or, and they travel a ton, and, has in the 9 months. So it might seem like, ooh, that's really long. But slow and steady.
Yeah, exactly.
And
but
also
that's the sustainability of it, right? It's not this quick fix that now I'm there. Like over time, this becomes her new norm.
Does. And also within that time, I think her hormones had to be adjusted 2 other times.
Oh, okay.
Maybe even 3 other times in there, because she had just recently started. So they were still trying to figure out how to balance them.
Yeah.
And obviously when you're balancing them and you readjust them, the body's going to have a little bit of a response to that. Maybe the weight does bump up a little bit. Maybe all of a sudden you don't feel very good with the foods that you're eating. Maybe exercise does have to take a back seat for a little while.
Yeah, right.
So we were playing around with that. And 9 months later, she's completely hit her weight goal.
Okay.
That was one of her goals.
Right.
But I always say to people, I'm fine with helping you hit your weight goal, but I am not doing it if you're going to feel like crap.
Yeah.
And if you're going to lose all of your energy, and what's the point?
No, there isn't. Just to get that number on the scale.
Yeah.
But no.
And the other thing too is she was an avid, like F45 person.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it was 5 days a week or whatever. I actually pulled her fully off of it.
Oh, really?
She also didn't have the energy to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let's just park it for right now until you can find your energy again. And then we're going to start incorporating exercise. And we were able to incorporate exercise into it. But that also I find is a big myth that you have to debunk is, I don't know, maybe some people will kind of fight me on this, but I do like sometimes like fully take away the gym for people for a certain amount of time, because all it's doing is causing more damage.
Yeah, right.
A little bit more mentally and just more on the stress of the body that it's already in. So it was a lot of things that she's never done in all of her years of dieting.
Yeah, right.
Trying to look the way that she wanted to. And we had to pull back on everything. But I always say to people too, is that my goal is not to get you to a point where you're eating, you don't like the food that you are eating, or you don't like the exercise that you're doing. Like there's no reason for that to happen. And I also think another thing too is like she was fully willing to embrace all of these changes and comply.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But very much asks questions and wants to know this and wants to know, why I would do this. And sometimes it's a lot of testing with people too, just to throw something out there for a week and let's just give it a try and let's see how the body responds. So, super proud of her. And, I know that she's proud of herself as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's good. It's a good feeling.
Thank you, Nadine.
Well, thanks for having me.
So much great information. If people have questions for you, is there a way that they can reach out?
They can. So you can find me on Instagram under Nadine Dumas. You can find me on my website, which is nadinedumas.com. I also have another website, which is the MBN, so the Mind Body Nutrition Method.com. And Facebook, I'm on there. You can find me on the Breast Intentions podcast. You can reach out to me there as well. Anyone can reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. I'm more than happy to do a consultation. My consultations usually take about 45 minutes to an hour. And we dive into everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Lots of questions.
Yeah. Well, we can see it's all related. So it's needed.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. This was fun. Thanks for joining us on Breast Intentions. We hope you felt seen, supported, and maybe had a few laughs along the way. Don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review us. Your support keeps the conversation alive. Follow us on social media for more insights, behind-the-scenes fun, and updates on future episodes. Got a topic you want us to dive into? We'd love to hear from you. Remember, life's too short for bad bras, toxic relationships, and kale you don't actually like. So until next time, stay bold and keep your breast intentions exactly where they belong, front and center. Now go crush midlife, or at least today's to-do list. Cheers!